In this episode of Game of Names, we're going to have an out-of-body experience together. Well, if you think about it, every thought you have is a conversation with a disembodied being, because it's being a thought in your head. Now follow it and ask yourself, where did that come from? Why am I thinking this thought? Who is this being inside me speaking to me? Are there two people here? Or is there just one person here? Are all people here? Well, guess what? They're all right. So, let's jump into this episode. The first person is going to be Robert Monroe, the man who started the Monroe Institute. Just as a little side note, we all know what TMI stands for when someone says, that's too much information. At the same time, you can too, as in add, much as in a lot, information from outward in. Now, there's the three initials, TMI, the Monroe Institute. Now, Robert Allen Monroe, the founder of the Monroe Institute. Robert, if you just take rob, when you rob somebody, it's a active here, ongoing, base. Base is the last letter, so when you go from R to O to B, something's active here, and you're going to ongoing its base, as in take it. Now it's ongoing, it's become your base. See how simple that may be when you say rob. Now when you say Robert, that means to take from the express reference plus Robert. So every Robert's going to have other references, and it's going to resonate with their name based on where they're from and all the things that I've been saying. So Robert, reference ongoing base, expressing reference plus. Allen, with two L's, activating ling, or between two L's as they lie between here, activate ling, express notion. Okay. Remember, LL is X, so you could say activate the center, express notion. And then Monroe, Mon is one, but you can say manifest ongoing notion, reference or active here, ongoing expression. So when you put all three of those names together, when you reference ongoing base, express reference plus, activate centered express notion, manifest ongoing notion, reference ongoing expression. So you see how that would be a person who took from himself, from the air, Robert, Allen, align, Monroe, one reference ongoing expression. So you leave your body, come back with information. His birthday being October 10, the thing that's intense, the J, the junction of, the I-O, what's intense, 30th, concept or constant to itself unseen intense, in the year 1915, which would be subject 19S, 15 ongoing, or you could say active, identified, active expression. See how 1915 is also AI, AE. But we don't talk that way. But he's activating his identity and activating that expression. Is he not? Of course he is. Because he's Robert Allen Monroe. He's living as God, and his initials, his three initiates are RAM, ROM. Is it just a coincidence that he was able to teach so many people or start a foundation about leaving your body and understanding the other side? Well, if it's a coincidence, then slap me around and call me Susie, please. Because I know what I'm saying is hard for people to take in and understand, but it really is the fabric of it all, or else it wouldn't be people that you've heard of in history living these things out. I'm trying to show you where we need to focus our attention to fix this planet. I happen to be one of the few who actually knows what it takes. Everyone else will distract you, and you will believe them. And I understand, but my heart is open, and I do this for you, for what you really are. So now, we'll move on to the other guys that learned from the Monroe Institute and went off and did their own thing. One of the men from the Monroe Institute is William Buhlman. He teaches out-of-body experiences, journeys out of the body, and all that kind of stuff, which is fine, of course. William is the plural identified between two L's, I am, And then Buhlmann, I'll put it into broken down words. Plural identified ling ling, or as it lies between two L's, identified act of manifestation. Buhlmann, Buhlman, base unit here. Ling, manifest active notion. Now put that with somebody who has a plural identified between two L's, identified identified I am, or just you could say plural identity between two L's, I am. That's what William means. And then Buhlmann, base unit here, lay, manifested active notion. And he's someone who can leave his body and talk about the out-of-body experience. Not a coincidence. Promise. Now, since I've already done this person, Jose Silva, he was also part of that institution. He was also, involved with people there. Little different in his own story, of course. But Jose Silva, if you wanted to hoist yourself up, but it's literally junction or J coming into tense, ongoing subject, expressing with that accent pointing up, Jose. And then Silva, not yourself, your Silv, subject identified as it lie, vital activity. So, of course, he did it too. See how his name exactly resonates? I broke him down in another video, so I'm not going to go back to him. But there's another. And then you have Tom Campbell. Plus ongoing manifestation, constant to itself, active manifests in place or potential, base expressed as it lies between two L's again. Or you could say he's got plus ohm, camp, base, L as in God, and then ling. Now Tom Campbell is known for comparing the universe and the big cheese to a computer, which I understand why people use a computer because they seem so fascinating to the human mind. But everything is energy and everything is computing. You never needed a little station with a box or a square or a screen to process data for you. It just does it faster than the average person can. The information is there, but we're looking up stuff we don't need to do. We fascinate ourselves and get intrigued by all the possibilities. And we go out and we do amazing stuff, but then we also do horrible things trying to figure out how to do those amazing things. And what I mean by that is we go out and we harm other people to get our way. Not all of us, but I'm just putting everybody into one umbrella. We're literally the kind of beings who have potential, but will harm others that are in their way instead of finding more peaceful and harmonious ways to go about it. Now, when we compare the world to a computer, we turn human beings into just these little robotic entities playing in a simulation, and it lessens us to almost nothingness. If we keep comparing the human being to computers that have no feelings, the world is going to go more in a direction towards computers and having no feelings towards each other, and only wanting to satisfy your curiosities and your scientific wonder. And that's got to go. So a lot of these people are doing a good job by bringing interesting topics and ideas to people's minds. Now, if you go to try to recreate or relive the exact experience that any of these people who teach out-of-body experience in and speaking to higher entities, if you try to have the exact same experience they have, you're not going to be able to recreate it because you're a different point of this universe all wrapped up in you. So instead of trying to have somebody else's experience or have some fantasy that you see in your mind and want to manifest into reality, look around and see what's really real during this lifetime and affect those causes for good. By promoting more computing and more technology, you're not being organically natural. You're not. No matter what you think, no matter how cosmic your dialogues and interviews and all these things can be, they're great people. They're God-informed too. But at the same time, their interaction based off of their name resonation is exactly what it is to the world. And mine being my name and also being the one who created the word, and I'm explaining myself as Dan Alexander, the truth, jarred and extending to all, then I'm saying the same thing with every being and every word and everything that we have in the world that we explain through words, and people don't see that it is the fabric. So I don't know how I'm supposed to just let that go, because if we want help, we've got to show where help is, and I'm doing that. It just happens to be me who, it may not seem like a very helpful thing to say. What we've got to do is stop doing so much foul shit. Because everyone's like, we're not going to stop doing that. But that's on us. And until more of us say we need to or else, we're not trying to threaten, but everyone seems to not respond to anything unless it's a threat. I'm going to do this to you if you don't do the right thing. It shouldn't be that. What is the right thing? If you know, start doing it. Don't look for somebody else to give you a theory on what is. Look around you. Take it upon yourself to truly go inside. Because the outer body experience is basically what happens inside your body when you take everything outside you into it. Because when you have an outer body experience, which I have outer and out of body experiences all the time, and I've spoke with many unembodied beings or disembodied beings, but I don't talk about stuff like that because I can't prove it to you other than the information that I know. And when I explain it, you'll say it makes sense, but you never heard of it that way, or there's other stuff that you got to do with your time, like go make money and chase after dreams. You're living in the fantasy. I'm not. I'm explaining things for what they really are, day in, day out, second by second. Not the information that somebody else told me, the truth as it is. So I don't live in a world where it's like or as. It is what love is. That's where I live. And I extend it to you every time. So I've got one more person who doesn't have anything to do with the Monroe Institute, but he has a lot to do with this topic. All right, I already broke down Tom Campbell, but I want to go a little more in depth with him because he happened to be somebody who came up today with a person who I've only talked to 4 times in my life. One was about like a month and a half ago, and then we talked the last 3 weekends in a row. And coincidentally, of course, she said just about an hour before we talked today, which is when I was doing my episode and recording this stuff about Tom Campbell, she said that somebody she was talking to brought up a physicist, and that's who it was, Tom Campbell, some guy with a book about a toe. And then I told her about it. And I'm like, is it just coincidental that we don't know each other? We're states and states apart, hours difference, of course. And somehow, the person that I happened to look up yesterday, just through still pictures in a folder of thousands of people, that I decided to work on this one yesterday. Today I record it. I talked to you about it, and you heard about this person an hour ago for the first time ever, before we talked. Isn't this interesting? Along the lines of that, I wanted to show how people that have this same kind of theme, there's Tom Campbell, and then there's Dan Winter, who both, like one talks about, breaking down the fields, and the other one is talking about more of a computer analogy, but they both go back and forth between fractal fields and computer analogies and God and Bible references and stuff like that, which is fine because it's all the same story. But before I move on to the last guy, I wanted to at least go more in depth with Tom Campbell. His full name is Thomas Warren Campbell. So you'd say plus here ongoing manifested active subject, plural air, but plural active reference upon itself expressing notion. And then with Campbell, unseen concept or constant to itself, amp, but active manifested potential, base expressed between 2 L's. So, of course, he's that. And he was born December 12, the lay or the active base, 9, identified, 1944, subjecting dia upon itself. So do you see how this is exact? And it's not just a coincidence. It's just so exact because I'm showing you the fractal patterns that these people try to explain in cosmic computing terms. And I'm speaking it right to you with them as their own example of things that they can't even talk about. But they're so fascinated with computing and technology, and that's actually a huge distraction. It's a way to help people understand the organic part, but we've got to make sure we make that apparent as we explain it to them. So yes, computers can help us connect, but then we actually have to connect to nature, not technology even farther away from nature. That's the point that needs to be made. Dan Winters is the same thing. I went on a video about him before, but I don't think I put it out. I sent it just my friend Conrad. But it was literally saying how Dan is what's happening, Dan, and then Winter, plural, identified notion plus expressed reference. What happens, plural, inter. And he talks about breaking down the fractal field. Of course, because his name is what's being done at the moment. plural, inter. So he's talking about, getting in touch with your own inner source, but he's also into computers and he's making money doing it. And they don't even see the amount that they're misled because they haven't had the super spiritual God experience. It's been more of a psychological understanding. If it was, they'd be saying a lot more of the stuff that I'm talking about and knowing about how other lives actually manifest. I remember them. I don't just remember another cosmic spectrum or another astral field. I remember the beginning of all of them. But anyway, let's move on to the last guy. Now, this last person is Eben Alexander, who is a neurosurgeon who went into a coma and came back with an understanding of the other side. And he wrote a book about the afterlife. His name being Eben Alexander III, born December 11th, 1953. So the name Eben, think of how we talk about the Garden of Eden, where that's energy. Now just turn the D from an Eden into a B, and it's the base of that. The expressed base, expressed notion. Alexander is to all extender, but then you could say active as it lies, expressing center, active notion, to and from, expressed reference. D is dia, expressed reference. The third is written with 3 I's in Roman numeral, or you could say it's a C, the unseen concept constant to itself, or you could say the identified identity upon itself, I. So is it just a coincidence that a guy named Eben, expressed base, expressed notion, Alexander, all extender, 3, or the third, unseen concept, or the identified identity identified, is a guy who not only studied and worked on the brain, neurosurgeon, expressed base, expressed notion, he also underwent a surgery that induced a coma that showed him that there was more than just the brain, that consciousness is more than just that. It's not a product of the brain. There's an afterlife. And what I'm talking about is there's an always life. And you're just going in and out of them. As all of these people, they just happen to be in their spot and you happen to be in your spot. Now his birthday being December 12, the active base or as it lie, Ling. 11, kinetic or actively active, 1953. Subject expressing unseen concept or active identity expressing unseen concept. Do you see how this all aligns perfectly? It does with everybody in every different instance. This aligns with exactly what he does. Now, when I break down somebody who's, a race car driver, and it perfectly fits, it's not just a coincidence. That's why I'm doing this. And I know it seems tedious to a lot of you guys, but I'm doing this because I love you all so much, more than I could act like as a person-to-person thing. I'm just the energy inside this person who knows love and knows you to be part of God, just as I am. So that's it for this episode. And the more and more I put out videos, I hope the more and more you see that this is all from my heart. And I'm trying my best to put everyday stuff into an understanding that there's so much more going on than what's on TV. If we could just stop being distracted by those people. I'm standing up for freedom in a true way, which means being free of all of it, not just the system, but the ideals and the traditions that have held us back for so long that keep us from moving forward. We can't move forward if we keep doing what we've always done. I mean, that's just obvious, and people know it, but they're not taking the actions to actually do it. And I'm trying to at least escort or scoot that in the right direction, if not lead it, if I'm able to. I know I could if people gave me the ability to show them the way that they themselves can follow for themselves, to lead leaders, basically. But we need somebody to take that spot, and if nobody else wants to, I would gladly do it for you because I love you and I want to lead you to something better than what we're all facing right now. So instead of waiting around to see what happens next, let's do something together first that's better and productive and beneficial. Imagine all that stuff happening at once. Wow. It's actually not that hard. But Until next time, that's it for the Game of Names. Peace and God bless.